play host to Mercer. And then after that, at 9:30, there's a free concert in Johnstone Meadows. Also, the men's soccer team will play South Carolina on Monday at Briggs Field. And Saturday, the Ring of Honor ceremony inducting Coach Ford and Coach Willine will take place during the pregame with about 10 minutes on the pregame clock. And thank Herb Tyler from Chick-fil-A of Seneca for providing our lunch today. I'll turn it over to Coach.
All right, thanks, Tim. Good morning, everybody. Just like y'all, excited to finally have game week here. Seems like it's been a long off season, and just really kind of looking forward to seeing us getting on the field and playing somebody other than ourselves. See how we match up with a great team like Georgia. Openers are always tough. They're always tough. It doesn't matter who you play because there's always unknowns. You got more time to prepare for the opening game than any other game. So there's always adjustments and tweaks and things that staffs do in the off season. But it's even tougher when you open up with a team like Georgia, as talented as they are and as well coached as they are. I got a lot of respect for Mark Richt. I think he's just has done a tremendous job at Georgia. He's a great football coach. He's one of the good guys in this business that I have a lot of respect for, and look forward to competing against those guys Saturday. But offensively for them, that's where everybody always starts because they got just voted as the top quarterback in the SEC by the SEC coaches, and he is a great football player. So. He knows what they're doing. He's got a great feel for them. They're very balanced. You look at what they did last year, 37 passing touchdowns, 32 rushing touchdowns. They know what they're doing. Very dynamic in how they call the plays, but they want to run the football. They want to run the ball, a lot of play action, a lot of screens, a lot of double moves and things like that built into their plan. And they've got a very, very veteran group in every position. So big challenge for us from a defensive standpoint. And then their defense, a lot of new faces, a lot of new starters. But don't buy the lie that or feel sorry for Georgia because they got a lot of great players. A lot of great players. They're one of those programs that just reloads, and that's what they've done in this case. So I know they lost some guys from last year, but they have recruited at a very high level, and we'll put a very, very good defense on the field Saturday night. And but for us, it's really about Clemson. It's about how we play, how we prepare mentally and physically this week, and just taking care of business with the things that we control. Trying to execute our plan to win, and guys that are out. Definitely, Tyshawn Dye right now is definitely out. Pagano, Mackenzie Alexander, Joe Gore, all those guys are definitely out. Everybody else is back in practice, although Cooper will not play in this ball game. He is practicing. He's working scout team. Really just getting the work, getting the reps, getting the contact, and kind of building his confidence back. But the rest of our guys are on board and expect everybody to be ready Saturday night. So looking forward to being in the Valley. I just think it's a great opportunity for Clemson University, a great opportunity for the city of Clemson. I mean, I don't know how many people are going to be in this town this week and this weekend, but what a great privilege it is to be able to host game day and for our fans and our students to have that experience. I think that's great. And looking forward to seeing Death Valley at its best on Saturday night. With that, I'll take your questions.
Would there be anything strikingly different about this team this year other than it's a new group of people, it's a new season?
Our team, Clemson, strikingly different? Well, I don't know. I think we do what we do. I mean, we are who we are offensively and defensively, but hopefully there'll be some strikingly different things. Hopefully we're going to be better on defense than we were last year. Hopefully we're going to have a few guys that maybe weren't huge contributors last year that are going to step up and be big time contributors this year. So, those, if you look at it from that standpoint, could be some striking differences from last year's team. But as far as what we do, who we are, how we do it, that part doesn't change.
Have you been able to get a handle on the personality this early? Because typically you might say it's 3-4 weeks before you really get a handle on that.
Yeah, well, I think we got a veteran group. I think that they know how to practice the right way. They've got a good mentality to them. I think there's good leadership on our team. But, I don't think a game like this you're going to find out all those answers. There's going to be mistakes made. This is we're a talented team. They're a very talented team. But I think the identity of your team, really kind of presents itself, that first half of the season. The opener is just the opener. That's really, if you just get down to it, it's the opener. And that's really all you got to go play somebody. This is just a different deal because you got, really two good teams, heading out on the field to compete against each other right out of the gate, and both teams have very little room for error. So from that standpoint, it's a big challenge. But we're going to grow over these first few weeks. We've got a lot to prove as a football team. After 4 or 5 opponents, I think the identity of your team really starts to present itself. But it's a long season, and I don't think that you can get all your answers, win the game or lose the game, with an opening game.
Coach, along those same lines you're just discussing, I know it's important to win the opener, sort of establish yourself, but is there perhaps extra significance or meaning in this? By the way, you ended last season beating a top SEC team in LSU. The chance to really cement yourself as one of the legitimate front runners this season by beating another powerful SEC team in Georgia.
Well, it'd be great to win the game. That's really all it's going to be. We're just going to check off the first goal over there. That's really all it's going to do. Everybody can talk about that for a couple weeks and how great that is, and you beat a couple SEC teams and you had a big opening night win, but so what? We got 12 games on our schedule, and every opponent is critical. We've got much bigger goals than an opening game, and and this is for both teams. I think in a game like this, you got to be careful because it's not a win-all, end-all type of deal. It's a long season. And, heck, just look at Alabama. They've lost 2 years in a row at home in November. And the reason that they've been able to battle themselves back into the national championship is because they've stayed focused on what they control. You don't control all those other things, and that can't enter into our mentality. We just have to prepare, go play the very best that you can, let it all hang out. Don't worry about the scoreboard. When you walk off the field, man, just know that you gave everything you had to help your team win. And if everybody has that mentality, when you got good players, you're going to win a bunch of games. And sometimes the ball bounces your way, sometimes it doesn't. The thing that matters to me is how do we compete? How do we prepare? What's our mentality? What's our attitude? Those are the things that really matter to me more than anything else. But the winner of this game, they've just got a good kind of a good starting spot. The winner of this game may drop back a little bit, but they're not out of the race. This is a long race, and anything can happen. So I think you got to have a good perspective and go do everything you can because you want to get out of the gate, really, really fast. But got a long way to go.
Hey, Dabo, you've talked many times about making sure that your team focuses on the right things and doesn't listen to outside noise. But clearly, when you get on top of the hill before a game like this, it feels different when you're playing a top 5 team versus a Division I, 2A team. Talk about just with the internet and social media and so forth, keeping the team focused and not getting caught up in the things that we write about, have to write about.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, I think that's great. I think all that stuff's great. I'd much rather people, give a rip about Clemson than really just not care. I love being at a place where, I was at the Bilo till 10:30 last night. People are excited. I think that's great. People care. It's important. they love it. They spend family time. There'll be people rolling in here probably tomorrow night just to smell the campus. And I just think those are great things. And our players aren't immune to that. I mean, they're human beings. I mean, they hear things. Everywhere they go, it's the same thing. I mean, people are talking to them. And I just think that you have to really lean on your experience and the leadership of your team, and you have to just address those things. I mean, listen, 3 teams that were listed in the preseason top 10 last year didn't even finish ranked. So those are things that you have to make sure that your guys understand, that all of this stuff is fun, it's great, you can draw some energy from it, but it can't be a distraction. And you have to keep those things in the right perspective. But when you have a team that has good experience, and we do. I mean, we had 11 seniors last year and 1 junior that's gone. So we got a lot of guys back that have been through the battles the last few years that I think they've got a good foundation. They got their feet on the ground. I don't think they've gotten swept up in the clutter and the noise that's out there. They're too busy trying to figure out how they're going to beat Georgia because this is a team, when you turn them on film and you watch these guys, which that's what we do, you better bring your A game. You better bring your A game right out of the gate. So, and I think our guys have a good understanding, too, of how quickly that stuff goes away and how irrelevant it is and how up and down that stuff is. So we've got a formula for success that we talk about, and that's what we try to keep their eyes on. And, your leadership of your team, the messages that resonate through the coaches' meetings, those are all things that you got to do to try to keep them focused. And I think we're in a good spot there.
Dabo, you guys are pulling out all the stops here. You got Danny Ford, Homer Jordan, Treadwell, all this stuff. Is that you talk about clutter and stuff, but is that for the players or is that for the fans?
No, I think Homer Jordan and Treadwell coming back, I think that's just a recognition of this game. How special this game is. Clemson, Georgia, the tradition. Those are two pretty historic figures in this game, and I think that's what that's all about. As far as Danny Ford, that doesn't have anything to do with it. He didn't get into the Ring of Honor because we're playing Georgia. He got in the Ring of Honor because he won a whole lot of games, won a national championship, and it's just people finally said it's time. And so I just think that's just all coincided, and I think it's great.
Do you have any memories of those great games between 77 and 87 between these two from afar watching, and did any of them, kind of stick out in your mind?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I grew up, watching Herschel Walker, and I was, like everybody, college football fan. That was kind of I'm from the 80s, so that was a heyday for me. And I remember all those great games. And I followed Clemson because of Danny Ford. Knew him as an Alabama guy, and so and Frank Howard. I had met Frank Howard when I was a kid, and so I just always kept up with Clemson. And I had a buddy growing up who was the most obnoxious Georgia fan you've ever met in your life, and so anybody that was playing Georgia was always fun to pull for in those days. And Clemson, I had no idea at the time that one day I would get to meet the Jeff Davises and Homer Jordans and those type of guys. But, what a great rivalry that was. And glad to be a part of it for at least a couple ball games.
Coach, you talked about a couple of weeks ago just really running these guys through very physical practices because there's no way to ease your way into the season with Georgia. Is any of that born out of the 2008 opener against Alabama?
No. It's just what we do. I mean, we just have a plan of preparation and things I believe in that you got to get the team ready to do, and that's what we do.
Chad said the other day that he never really thought that Sammy got into a full rhythm last season. Have you seen much difference in him this preseason?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's been on the field. This time last year he wasn't going to play in the first 2 games, so it's kind of hard to give him a lot of reps when he's not playing. And then he does come back and plays a couple of games. Played about he had a few games where we blew some people out, and he played about a half. Then he had a little kidney ailment thing, missed the Boston College game, and misses the bowl game. So just the continuity was not there. But if you really just break it down and you look at the time that he was on the field and the production that we got out of him, he was still pretty special. He wasn't superhuman because the continuity wasn't there, the consistency wasn't there. He didn't play in 13 ball games. So that was the biggest thing. So if he's on the field, Sammy Watkins is going to be fine. He'll have a great year. Just got to stay healthy.
What do you recall about the recruiting battle for Gurley and your thoughts about him as a running back? What makes him so special?
Man, and not just Gurley, Marshall, both of them just, Marshall's, everybody thinks he's this little guy. He's no little guy. He's put together. He is a big, strong back, fast. I really loved both of those guys, and I thought we had them both. And then when Marshall broke our heart, because I think when he maybe went to bed that night, maybe he was coming to Clemson and had a bad dream or something, I don't know. Woke up and went to Georgia. I just knew we were going to get Gurley. I mean, just knew it. And we felt great about him. And both of them just phenomenal people, just great kids. I mean, just tremendous in the whole recruiting process, good families. And so, I'm fired up about Gurley, and I think we're going to get Gurley. And I'll never forget it because the day that he's supposed to announce, and I'm on edge. And most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, when you're getting a guy. Sometimes they'll fool you, but most of the time, But Gurley's going to announce later on that day, and we're still kind of on edge, and there's still some hope. And I actually got a call from Mark Richt that day. I can't remember what he was calling me about, but I'm like, so what's going on here? So he was going to announce it like 2 o'clock, and so I call Coach Richt back. He answers the phone, and it's just shortly before 2 o'clock. I'm kind of sitting around, I'm not going to bring anything up, and we're just talking. Well, he's on the treadmill. So he's talking to me on the treadmill, and I'm going, well, I guess you're not real worried about this announcement coming up at 2, So I kind of knew right then that, we probably were not getting him because he said something like, well, you never know. You think you know, but you never know. So I knew right then that we weren't getting him. And I remember hanging up the phone, going down. I'm like, we're not getting Gurley. And I'm like, how in the world did they get these two great backs? And, you got to give them credit. They did a great job of recruiting them the right way. And that's just where they felt most comfortable. But two really, really talented, dynamic backs, and going to be a handful Saturday night.
You said you don't want your team to be distracted. What's their day going to look like on Saturday? Do you let them watch College Game Day? Do you keep them around the TV, or what are you going to do?
We tie them up. We put them in a downstairs room, blindfold them. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they watch Game Day. Listen, this is college. it's supposed to be fun. You're supposed to enjoy the moment, and you want them to really understand, and be a part of the pageantry of college football. And but first thing we do is we let them sleep in a little bit. These guys don't get a lot of sleep, so it's an opportunity when you do play a late game to let them get some sleep. So a lot of them will sleep in or still be asleep when that show comes on, but. Then we have kind of an open breakfast type of deal in the mornings because some guys like to get up a little earlier, some want to sleep a little later, and then we start our meetings. So it's a busy day. We've got special teams meetings, offense, defense meetings. Then they'll have a little time to go back to their room. Then we got pregame meal, and after pregame meal, that's probably about 4:10 Saturday. They go back, get dressed. Then we got a little walkthrough, get on the bus, come over here. We get over here a couple hours before. So, we try to break the day up and keep them busy. But, you can't keep them away from all that kind of stuff. But again, they just have to understand that it's about how you play the game, not about what somebody says on TV or anything like that. So just don't get caught up emotionally with all that stuff. My old coach, Coach Stallings, used to always say, hey, when you go to your room, turn the sound down. Just watch the game, turn the sound down. So every now and then I'll mention that to him.
Dabo, as exciting as this is for everybody, this upcoming game, do you worry or are you concerned that, down the road because of this new playoff system, you'll have to rethink these kind of games just because, there'll be a premium, I would imagine, on, winning as many as you can to get into the playoffs?
Well, I mean, I think that's part of it. There's also going to be a premium on, beating people that count. I mean, we can schedule all the directional schools if we want to and be 13-0 and stick our chest out, but you got to play people. You're going to get discounted for that, and I personally hope it doesn't change. I think that playing 8 conference games is a huge challenge, and every week presents a new opportunity within this conference. I think our conference is getting stronger and stronger by the day, and 8 conference games is great. And then you throw in the fact that we're always going to play South Carolina, and they're one of the best teams in the country. And then if we can play another top tier opponent, I think that's kind of the formula that works for us. And then maybe a mid-level type Division I opponent. And then typically we usually play somebody from the state. So I think that's plenty. If you take care of your business here at Clemson with the type of schedule that we'll present each year, we'll have an opportunity to be in that mix. There's no doubt about it. If we're a 12-1, 13-0 type of team, winning a conference championship on top of that, there's no way that we're not going to be in the national scene.
There's similarities.
With Tyshawn and McKenzie, do you have a gauge on how long they might be?
Well, Tyshawn, he's had a couple of epidurals. He's got a little problem in his lower back, and hopefully that works for him. If it doesn't, then you got to kind of go to the next step and evaluate him further. Shame he's not well, because boy, what a great player he's going to be, and he's very different from some of the guys that we have. But we're just kind of day to day right now. It's really kind of how does he respond. And as far as McKenzie, really have ramped him up this week with some things that we're going to ask him to do, and hopefully he'll be ready to go next week. But we'll have to see.
What about Jordan Leggett?
Jordan practiced yesterday. He's back in green, and I think there's a strong chance that he'll be available Saturday night. We'll just have to. It's a day-to-day deal. See how he does today. See how he does tomorrow. It's a long time. 8:22 on Saturday night is forever from right now, and so we'll just see how he is. But I feel good about our tight end situation going into it, where we are, our plan that we have in place. But it sure would be nice to have another guy available like Leggett.
Taj and Aaron Murray are both having great careers. Do you have some similarities that you would compare the two, or are their styles any way similar, or just kind of talk about those two?
Both good young men, both great winners, both great competitors. That's the biggest things that I would say. Skill-wise, they're similar. They're about the same size. Both of them, make big-time throws. I mean, Aaron Murray made some throws in that Alabama game that were incredible. Back shoulder throw from the right hash to the far outside of the field. Just some big-time plays. But the biggest thing I would say is they make everybody else around them better. And they both have that quality. They're both great winners. Aaron Murray's going to leave Georgia with I don't know how many records. They've both been incredibly consistent, and they both have gotten better and better and better. So they're very, very similar in all those regards.
A name that struck me, depth chart, Chad Kelly.
Yeah.
Could he be ready to play?
Yeah, he's ready. It's amazing. Never seen anything like it. And I tell you, I give that young man the credit. And when I walked into the locker room after the spring game, Chad was just devastated. He'd had such a good spring, and he was just devastated with his injury. And I'm trying to counsel him and kind of talk to him. Hey, listen, you're not going to cut your leg off. You're going to be back. You're going to come back from this. You start kind of giving him some examples of people on the team, other teams, or in the NFL, whatever. Trying to encourage him, and he said something to me. He said I'll be back for Georgia, and I'm like, well, that's great. That's the attitude that we want to have. That's definitely the attitude that you need. You want to, that's what you want. But listen, if you don't make it back for Georgia, then listen, you're going to be back sooner than later. And and really, to be honest with you, in my mind, I'm thinking late October, November, getting him back. And it's just and he and Coop, Coop is not far, but it's just a testament to, first of all, our doctors have done a great job, and our training staff, but Chad Kelly has worked his tail off. I mean, he has just been relentless in his rehab, and they cleared him the other day. So he's going in. He's our third guy, and yeah, if we need him, he's going to play. So that was my question. I'm not going to rep him this week if he can't play. And so where are we? And so you never seen a guy more happy than Chad Kelly. He's looked great. I mean, it's really amazing. I mean, he's been practicing for over a week now, doing everything. Running. He worked a lot as a Georgia quarterback the other night in our mock scrimmage. So just really proud of him, and it is amazing. I have not been around anybody in my whole career that has come back this quickly, this strong than Chad.
Dabo, can you reflect on the challenge of getting consistent disruption against their offensive line? So much experience, and
Yep.
so good late last year.
Well, I mean, that's the key to this game. I mean, it's going to be about the trenches. It's not anything fancy. It's not rocket science. They're either going to win in the trenches or we're going to win in the trenches, and that's what the game's going to come down to. Very, very experienced offensive line. They're big. They know what they're doing. They do a great job of getting to the second level and cutting you off. So it's going to be a huge challenge for our linebackers, for them to be able to, really be dialed in on their keys and be able to play over top of things. I mean, we're putting a lot of pressure on those guys. And then our interior defensive linemen, they've got to gobble those double teams up. They got to create a new line of scrimmage. They can't get knocked back. We got to do a good job of containing. Aaron Murray can move around, and he's very capable, inside the pocket or outside the pocket. So we got to do a good job of disrupting him. You can't just come after him. When you blitz him, he's probably as good as there is in the country at getting rid of the ball, knowing where to go with it. So you got to be able to get pressure with your front four, and so that comes down to matchups, and that's just that simple. So that's a real key to this game. It'll be something to watch closely.
There's a story out this morning talking about defenses catching up to tempo offenses, and Kirk Herbstreit said that he's talked to some defensive coaches who are actually practicing faking injuries. What would your reaction be to something like that if it became a problem throughout the season?
Faking injuries. Well, now if it's within a minute, you got the 10-second runoff thing that they've thrown into college football this year. But I mean, I hope that that's not the case. I really do. I hope that that's not somebody's not out there doing that. But you just wait for them to get to Kyle Field, get ready for the next play. I mean, that's all. Just run the next play. I mean, we can go as fast as we need. We can go as slow as we need. But at the end of the day, it comes down to execution. Being able to execute. You still got to block people. Tempo doesn't win it. You still have to execute. You still got to block. You still got to throw and catch. You still got to make the right decisions. But if people are doing that, you just catch your breath, get ready, and go again.
Yeah, well, reading Ed's story about Hot Rod, I gather you were a little taken aback to find out that he had gone through all that with his foot as a child. Could you talk a little about somebody overcoming something like that?
Well, I just think that he's a great example to a lot of people out there that have disabilities. And I heard a quote not too long ago that the only disability in life is a bad attitude. because it's how you think. And I talk to our team about things like that all the time. I mean, I watched a video. I think the young man's name is Richie Parker from Beaufort, South Carolina. Guy's got no arms, but yet he's an engineering grad and he drives a car. It's unbelievable. He types with his feet. He works for Hendricks Motorsports. He types with his feet. He doesn't know he has a disability because his attitude is so different. He thinks differently. And I think that, that's really the key. How you think. It's probably unthinkable for people to say, oh, well, this little child's going to drive a car. This kid's going to be an engineer. He's going to work for Hendricks Motorsports. He's going to type. But it wasn't unthinkable to him. And so I think that when you hear things like that and you hear a story about Rod, I just think that's a great encouragement to a lot of people out there who are facing disabilities or difficulties or challenges, and the world, tries to sell you that, hey, you can't do it, you're not good enough, you lack this, you lack that, whatever. And you have these great examples to look at and draw encouragement from that, yeah, I can. It doesn't mean it's easy, but you find a way. You figure it out. You take what God gave you and you make the best of it. So to me, that's one of the greatest lessons that there is out there.
Yeah, I know you're trying to get your team ready to play Saturday night. You've got a lot going on before the game. Do you think you have a chance to talk with Coach Ford before the game or at some point Saturday? And if so, what will you say to him? Well,
I hope so. I've seen him already. He was over. We had a barbecue, I guess 2 Saturdays ago, and got a chance to see him there. And just a long time coming. Congratulations. Very well deserved. I mean, there's really not much else to say other than that. And we've already expressed that to him. But I think it's a great moment. That whole deal. And obviously, I wasn't here in the '80s. But I do think that that's been one of the things that has kept Clemson divided for a long time. There's always been just as outside looking in, there's always been a group here and a group here. And, I just think that it's way overdue. And, I think I have a lot of respect for Coach Ford. He left here, went on to be successful. And I think that he's always been loyal and committed to Clemson. I think that he's gone above and beyond to try to help Clemson. And, I'm sure that there's been some frustrations on both sides. But, I'm just glad that, this is finally taking place because, again, hopefully it can bring people together and people can move on and embrace the good and, keep moving forward.
Dabo, a couple minutes ago, you said you were confident in the tight end position. A couple years ago, when you were recruiting Stanton Seconder, do you think this kid from a private school would be somebody you'd be confident in at tight end at Clemson?
Well, didn't necessarily at the time think that he would be the tight end. I was just confident that he was going to be a great football player. That's why we actually offered him a gray shirt. We didn't have a scholarship, but we thought so much of him, and we really wanted him on our team. We went to him early and said, "Listen, here's the deal." We had Sammy, we had all those guys committed, and I said, "Listen, I don't have a spot right now, but man, you're a guy we want on this team, and here's the situation. We'll take you." But just being up front, if everybody qualifies, if everything kind of stays on course here, you may have to sit out and come in January. Now, that could change, but I just got to be honest with you up front. But I think enough of you just to try to figure this thing out because we want you on this team. I just felt like that he was a guy that had it all in front of him. Just great intangibles, and it's been fun to watch him develop. But and then he gets here, and all of a sudden he's in the weight room. He's getting bigger and stronger, and we started seeing, hey, well, this guy may really give us an opportunity, especially play him in that slot area some, and he's developed nicely. He's just going to be a sophomore. I mean, he's gonna have some nice plays this season. He's going to make some mistakes, but over these next 3 years, I really, really believe he's going to develop into, a very, very good player.
Any walk-ons that are getting a chance to be on scholarship?
C.J. Davidson, we got several guys that were on last year that, it's kind of a year-to-year thing, and it's all based on how things fall out in the recruiting process. But we had a couple come available because we had a young man, Trey Thomas, transferred, and we had a young man that didn't get in our recruiting process that we thought. So all of a sudden, a couple of them pop up, and so we were able to keep Sebeski on, which is really good. Our starting snapper, he certainly deserves that. We were able to put one guy on offense, which was C.J. Davidson. Clearly earned it. I mean, he's a guy that I hope we can keep on. I mean, he is if he performs and produces, this year, he's a guy that is very deserving. And then Taylor Watson was our defensive guy that we were able to put on. And I tell you, he's had a heck of a camp for us. He's in the mix at safety. He's a special teams guy for us, and is really developing as a solid player.
You look at the secondary, the guys that you're trotting out at corner, other than Martin Jenkins, is the same group that struggled at times last year. What would give you confidence that they would do well against an Aaron Murray, or is that still a concern?
Oh, it's a concern. It's definitely a concern. I mean, they're but I'm more confident just in the fact that we got everybody healthy. Last year we were so limited just with health and depth. We really were thin. I mean, y'all remember? I mean, we just guys playing lots of snaps. And guys bearing down on you constantly. You didn't have a big rotation there, and then we just didn't have the depth. So, I just feel better because we have more depth. We're much more healthy, and then they're just better. They're wiser. They've had another year to grow up and mature, and most of the time juniors are better than sophomores, and seniors are better than juniors or sophomores. So. Most of the time, you're better as you go through your career. Most of the time, guys develop, and I think that's where we are. It's good to see Martin Jenkins out there. He's practicing very well, and he can really help our team. So I'm really just thankful that we've got him back going. Bree has had an excellent camp. He's a fourth-year junior. Didn't think he was very focused last year as a football player, and then he got banged up, did not have much mental toughness battling through that. And I just think he's mentally in a different place right now. Darius Robinson, same thing. It was out half the year with a broken ankle, but a guy that's, played a lot of football in 3 years. So he's a senior, our only senior. And Gary Peters, I think he probably benefited the most with the experience that he got last year. And I'm really proud of Gary because same thing, a very immature guy his first couple of years here, but has really grown and matured as a person and as a player. And I think both of those things translate with one another. So I'm proud of him. So I feel good about those guys, and I feel good about Robert. I feel good about Blanks. I think that football is important. They're smart. The concern is outside of those guys, we don't have any experience. So it's really, I think, key for us is to, if we can just talk about getting a little bit of luck, if those guys could stay healthy, at least the first half of the year, if we could just kind of keep those guys on the field so we can develop some of these guys, because we got a lot of good young talent, a lot of athleticism and speed, but not much experience. So that's the biggest concern. But we do have more depth. It's just inexperienced depth.